Woo! Man, oh man, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into another Celtics Talk weekly post game live. I am your host, Rob Haytan. Joined with me is my co host, Nick Franco. Joining us in just a little bit is our other co host, Ian Angelo. Guys, the Boston Celtics squeak past the Brooklyn Nets tonight at the TD Garden in a nail biting overtime thriller. The Celtics winning 108 to 104. Franco, it was a wild game here, a weird one yet again, a defensive battle it felt like for most of the game for the C's, which is kind of something that we haven't seen from them yet, and it was nice to see against a good, quick Brooklyn Nets team that can score points in a hurry. Obviously, Jason Tatum tonight, another 30-point game, clicking on all cylinders. Before we jump into kind of the X's and O's, you know how this thing goes. If you're new here, we're going to give you guys just our quick initial thoughts, reactions, and takeaway on tonight's game.
It was a battle of the first 43 minutes. They switched the tides over. It was a stagnant first half, if that's a under exaggeration of what that first quarter was. That was abysmal playing by the Celtics. The the Nets were firing on all cylinders, and it just didn't seem like they were really into the flow of things. And execution was a little bit off, but it was great to see that the team was able to bounce back, especially during that crunch time when the game is on the line. But not having the lead for a majority of the game and then leading into overtime and getting Jason Tatum the poor shot selection to end the game or end regulation was poor, and I just think that it was just a real scrape by win for the Celtics.
It was a win that they needed, though,
Yes,
because
100%.
it was a game where not a lot went their way. The refs were by no means giving them the whistle all night. Brooklyn was making some tough shots. Cam Thomas, great game. He could score at a high volume. He was doing that tonight. Schroeder was a timely scorer. Cam Johnson was big for the Nets in the first quarter, right? So it was a game where Boston, it kind of felt like everything was going wrong for them, and especially in that first half. They were down. They were playing from behind, and they would get the tie the game, and then here comes Brooklyn on another 7-0 run, and it was just a game that was Boston would have to play from behind the whole game. And they were able to knock out a win. And, against any team, I think that's very impressive if you're the Celtics, especially when you're down right. Kristaps and Jalen. This roster thins out. And I think tonight was a win, Franco, where they were kind of able to piece it and throw it together. And I think we needed to see that from these guys, especially when we talk about on the defensive floor. We hadn't seen it from them defensively yet this year, and we saw it tonight.
Yeah, it was one of the more lower scoring games of the season, and not being able to capitalize on a few offensive plays. I think Brooklyn did a fantastic job, and I think Brooklyn is a better team than people accredit them for. People usually group them in with the Washingtons, the Detroits, the Charlottes.
They've been playing some good ball.
I think they have a lot of potentially great players on their team. At Cam Thomas, if he doesn't get All-Star game approval, I think that would be wrong, but I think he's done a great job of stepping up for the Nets, and they're developing into something good. But the Celtics, if the Celtics weren't able to get away with this win, our conversations would be a lot off. And
right. But again, that goes back to our old saying, right? Winning cures everything. This was a game where, the narrative switches heavily if they don't execute and win this game and make the little plays, because that's what you're looking for out of this type of game. Can Boston, shorthanded, make the little plays against a Brooklyn Nets team where it's really easy to sound them out and walk into the arena tonight and think, okay, with the Brooklyn Nets, we're the Boston Celtics, we're the defending champs, we're going to take this one lightly. I don't think Boston took it lightly by any means. I think their intentions and everything was there, but the game just didn't go their way. They didn't knock down some open shots, and Brooklyn did, and they got some loose balls that didn't go their way. So it's like, when you look at it like that, Franco, it's kind of like, that's huge when you win this, when you are the Celtics, right? And you are able to squeak out a win like this in overtime, especially 6-12 under Joe Mazzulla in overtime. This is a squad that struggled, after regulation. We've seen it before. They lost to the Denver Nuggets last year at home, and the Minnesota Timberwolves in overtime on the road. So this is a team that's been in overtime before against some good teams and hasn't been able to really execute, and they executed tonight. And I think that is where we should start, is that overtime execution, Franco. They were able to score when they needed to, and they had some phenomenal stops on the defensive floor as well.
Definitely. The Celtics showed their ability to go to that extra level when they're giving 100%. They were able to turn it up to 110% tonight, especially when the game was on the line. We didn't see the lead until 4 minutes and I believe 28 seconds into the game.
Which, we were playing from behind the entire game, it felt like.
Yeah, especially what was the first quarter, a 12-2 run right off the bat. So I think Brooklyn was on their A game tonight, and it wasn't a walkover. I think they did a fantastic job of taking care of that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from the Brooklyn side of things, right? I mean, you're playing good ball. You were 4-4 entering this game. Now you're 4-5, tied for third, and I believe you're tied for fifth in the East. You came in and you gave Boston a real run for their money, and you competed and you played well. You knocked down your shots. The rebounding tonight, Franco, was something that the Celtics did not do. They got out rebounded big time by the Brooklyn Nets. 51 from Brooklyn, 39 to Boston. The Celtics last year, Franco, were a team that led the league in rebounding. And this year, it kind of feels like that's something they've been struggling with. Right now, there's the obvious, missing piece to the rebounding struggle, which is
7'3"
exactly unicorn that sits in the paint normally for the Celtics. However, he's not there, and you got to have a next man up mentality. So for me, I don't know where you're at, but you got to see them hustle. They have to crash the glass more.
Yeah, no, it's going to be more of a step up on the wings. You can't expect tonight. We were matched up against Claxton and Simmons, who were doing a fantastic job on the boards. And Tillman and Al are what would be considered power forwards in a few years back's game. And I think that using them and putting them on the corners and having them stretch out the team is great, but having that glass cleaner presence is huge. Kata has been doing a fantastic job filling in those shoes. However, you can't put all the pressure on Kata in the rebounding, especially for what role he's just developing into.
Right.
You can't have all the weight on his shoulders. So having Tatum step up it down low, and even the stock exchange, Drew Holiday, earlier tonight, I think I texted into the group chat that we were going to see that Drew Holiday was the best paint scorer for the Celtics tonight.
Well, that's funny that you bring up White and Holiday, right? Because honestly, I think and Kida stepped up big tonight. 10 rebounds on his part, 10 from Horford, 9 from Tatum. So those guys did their thing. I'm looking at White, I'm looking at Holiday, I'm looking at Pritchard. Hauser, he had a decent night on the glass, but even Hauser, like, those are the players that you got to get down there. You have to crash, you have to box out. If it's a long shot, you have to expect a longer rebound. You have to have a knack for the ball. They haven't had that this year. And when you don't have Kristaps in the lineup, it makes life harder on you. And for the Celtics, you're giving teams more opportunities. Joe Mazzulla talks about all the time the margins, right? Let's look at the margins. You're given Brooklyn had 12 offensive rebounds tonight, I believe, right? You're giving Brooklyn that is 12 more opportunities to score the basketball, and you can't have that because, again, those are margins, those and turnovers. And Boston tonight, they had a turnover problem as well. So those are two things that I look at, Franco, from the Celtics, where it played a part in the game. They were able to win this game while lacking the rebounding, while lacking the turnovers. However, we talk about rebounding and a problem we've seen tonight. Mazzulla went with Xavier Tillman in the starting lineup. He played the first 5 minutes. He went 0-3 from behind the arc real quick. We didn't see him again. Now, Tillman, Franco, is somebody that I had high expectations for coming into this year. He was the player that I put the spotlight on in the early podcasts, right? If we picked the player, I was most excited for Xavier Tillman. I thought the offseason was going to be a big opportunity for him to get comfortable here. That's not been the case whatsoever. Tillman has struggled big time in these first 10 games for the Celtics. What do you think? Where are you at right now with Xavier Tillman?
I think they're... with the amount of wings or the center depth that is in shambles right now, especially with Cornette being out tonight, think that he's almost out of place in the Celtics lineup and rotation. That's why
he is.
Teams did not participate in the past few games. He's one of those people that is a mix and match, and that's kind of the story when you look at the Celtics depth at center. It's mix and match. Who can match up with what? You want to have Keita matched up against a stronger Claxton or someone that's not going to be pushed around down low. But I think seeing Tillman out there on the 3-point line is just not where he needs to be for the Boston Celtics. I would much rather him pressuring it down low, even being just a fourth man in the middle and running a 4-and-1.
Welcome in, Ian Angelo, the man. Ian, right now, we're talking about Xavier Tillman. Now, he's been disappointing, to say the least. And this is a guy that we talked about highly coming into this year. So what are your thoughts right now on Tillman?
If I'm being honest, I'm not necessarily surprised. If I'm being really honest, I'm not surprised. He had an okay preseason, but like you could tell that 3-point shot in the preseason was not really real.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you're muted. I got you.
Yeah. Anyway, I think he's going to be depth at this point. I don't think he's going to necessarily be a legitimate center on the Celtics team moving forward. And I don't know. It's just I think Neemias Queta is so much better. He has shown so much more improvements than Xavier Tillman has. And Xavier Tillman's just not an offensive player. That's pretty much it. He has zero offensive bag whatsoever.
And it looks like he's stuck in mud sometimes.
You can't have that on this team. You can't. You just can't have that on this team.
I don't know about you guys, but I know it's early, 10 games in. I think Tillman might be a guy that you move at the deadline. I think that, right? Because I think there's a market out there for him. Not a huge one, but there's a market. This is a guy that played a starting role for a Memphis team in the playoffs, right? Not too long ago. He's young. He's under a good contract. I know we just extended him, but like you're right. It doesn't look like there's a place out there for him. And he kind of looks lost still. And he looks slow. He looks stuck in mud and his shot's not falling. And, you know, defensively, you would kind of hope for a little bit more production out of him. And you just haven't seen that. And then on top of that, right, you have this rising star off the bench in Neemias Queta. And it's like, okay, well, if Neemias is going to play the way he's been playing for us, and it feels like with Queta, he is constantly doing good. Even if he's not scoring, even if he's not rebounding, he's making plays. His plus minus is always through the roof. And, you know, that's what you look for off the bench. And it hasn't been like that with Tillman. And it's a little disappointing because this is a guy I really had high expectations for. But it thins out your bench just a little bit more. Thankfully, Neemias Queta has been stepping up big for the Celtics, guys. It is time now, however, to talk about tonight's SeatGeek Player of the Game. Guys, Jason Tatum, yet another 30-point game. Guys, how about this? In his first 10 games as for the Celtics this season, Jason Tatum has scored 305 points, beating the second best time record of all time through first 10 games. Jason Tatum as well from 22-23 season. Guys, however, before we talk about Jason Tatum tonight, I do want to say this post-game show is presented by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the best ticketing app out there on the market, guys. At checkout, use code Celtics Weekly for $20 off your first purchase. Use the link down below in our description to take you right to the app, guys. The Celtics are back, and SeatGeek has you covered for all live events. They have this amazing system that shows you a great view from the seat, what it looks like. And get this, guys. Green means good, red means bad. They tell you whether or not your ticket is going to be worth the price that they are offering. So again, use code Celtics Weekly at checkout for $20 off your first purchase. And a big thank you to SeatGeek. Guys, let's talk about Jason Tatum. This man has been on an absolute mission through the first 10 games of the season, and he shows no signs of slowing down. 33 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists to go alongside 2 steals and a block. 5 of 13 from behind the arc. However, he started out 5 of 6 from 3. So a slower second half from Tatum. However, he still found ways to get buckets, guys. When you look at JT, we talk a lot about how good he has been to start this year. But tonight, it looks like he showed us a little bit of everything different. It was a complete game. What did you guys like about Jason Tatum tonight?
We should just change the player of the game segment to
the Jason Tatum. Yeah.
Segment,
it's ridiculous.
Sponsored by SeatGeek. But I think he's just done a fantastic job. And one thing that I harped on in the beginning of the season, during our preseason episodes before the ball started getting rolling, was if Tatum's going to start to find his MVP status, it's going to be taking the advantage of the opportunities of not having the other stars on the court. Injuries are going to happen throughout the season, and not having the two other players in the big three for the Celtics with him is making him become the one who's carrying the load for the Celtics, and he's done a fantastic job. One thing that he did great on is the transition and fast breaks.
He was great in transition tonight.
Him being able to get those cherry picks and being able to get the ball down the court as fast as he could. And I think the shot was falling for him. We've been harping on how great his shooting form has become since offseason and how much that has drastically improved. How open shots are more
well, I said that today. I texted you guys that. We're like, last year when Jason Tatum got an open look from three, it was like, maybe, but probably not. Now it's like, oh, he's open. Thank you. You can't afford to leave him open on a catch and shoot three. That is huge. That's going to add about 6 to 9 points to his game about every night. He's going to get about 2 to 3 wide open catch and shoot looks a game. He's going to make one or two of them at this rate. And that's huge for him. Huge for him.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't care what the NBA stupid MVP ladder says. Tatum is the MVP right now. I don't care if you think Anthony Davis is better. He's not. The Lakers are a terrible team, no matter how good Anthony Davis or LeBron James is. Jason Tatum is the best player in the NBA this season. I don't really care what anybody says. He has been putting up numbers. He is leading the Celtics to wins. And like you said, this was not a great game out of guys like Derek White, who he was in foul trouble early. He didn't have his shot early. He turned it on in the second half, but Tatum still had to carry the load in the first half of the game, and Peyton Pritchard was right there with him. Jason Tatum is doing this without the other all-star on his team. Remember, Celtics only had 2 all-stars last year. He's the only all-star playing. He's the only all-NBA guy playing right now. He is carrying the Celtics right now. Derek White and Peyton Pritchard are helping him, but I don't know how you look at Jason Tatum this season and not think he is becoming not only easily a top 5 player in the NBA, you could argue he might be cracking into the echelon of a top 3 player in the NBA.
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm going to play off that, Ian. Right now, Jason Tatum is the best player in the NBA. What he is presenting offensively and defensively is exactly what we were looking for him in that next step, in that year 8 jump. He is scoring on all 3 levels at a very efficient and high rate. He is finding his teammates with ease. The playmaking, his growth has just been phenomenal over the past 2 seasons. He's rebounding the ball. He's getting stops on defense. He's getting out in transition and running. He is doing everything you want to see. And on top of that, he's winning games. Ian, you make a great point. Celtics right now are 8-2, played some good competition. You've had Jaylen Brown, who's missed, I believe, his 4th game tonight. You've had Kristaps Porzingis, who's missed all 10. You've had guys like Sam Hauser in and out of the lineup. This Celtics team is by no means, no measure healthy. And right now, Jason Tatum, there is a time tonight where Jason Tatum was out there with Jordan Walsh, Neemias Queta, Peyton Pritchard, and Sam Hauser. And it was Jason Tatum. And he was out there being the top dog, as he is right now. You are so right. He has entered, and I think he was there, but now he's making it known, the upper echelon of the NBA. It's him, it's Luka, and it's Jokic. I don't want to hear Giannis. I don't want to hear David. That's where Jason Tatum is at right now. He is with this shot falling, guys. He is truly unguardable. The way that his 3-point shot is hitting, it's remarkable. And I'll tell you what, he had 33 tonight, right? He had a tough time in the first half getting to the rim. He could have had an easy another 6 or 7 points on top of that if the rest blew the whistle a little bit better, because he was getting to the rim. He just wasn't getting the whistle. So tonight, Jason Tatum, loved what I saw. if he keeps playing like this, the MVP is his, Ian. I so agree. Not AD, not Luka. A lot of ball left, but right now it's Jason Tatum, no doubt. 10 games in, it's Jason Tatum.
And Tatum offers so much more than what Luka and Davis did. You will see that he is so much more well-rounded, and he is doing what it takes to win when it comes to the Celtics. He's been leading them and being that captain that we almost saw him being the quiet type and leading by example, and he sure has been for the team. And I just can't harp on how well he's been doing a great job of carrying the load for them.
No doubt. And we got to talk about Peyton Pritchard again, guys. It's getting Peyton. I'm getting kind of annoyed, man. It's an every night thing, but you know what? I'm happy about it. Peyton Pritchard, guys, tonight, 20 points off the bench. That's really it. He had a steal and a rebound out there. He was really out there to score buckets tonight. He is currently leading the NBA in points off the bench, guys. Now, that's something that I would have called you crazy to think about. And
you did.
I want to, yeah, I did. I was not a Peyton Pritchard guy about a year and a half ago. And let's rewind. Let's go back in time to about a year and a half ago, a year and a couple months, when Brad Stevens was presented with a tough decision, when Peyton Pritchard said, listen, I want to play, whether it's in Boston, whether it's somewhere else, I want to play. And you had a guy like Malcolm Brogdon, who was coming off the bench, who was a reigning sixth man of the year, and they were paying a little bit more money. Brad Stevens puts his faith and trust into Peyton Pritchard, and man, oh man, is it paying off, guys. Right now, Peyton Pritchard is the betting favorite to win sixth man of the year. Again, it's early, it's 6 or 10 games in, but I don't know about you guys, but Peyton Pritchard has been the hands down by far most surprising player over Neemias Queta, over Jason Tatum. I mean, really, to the level he's taken his game to has been remarkable. I mean, when you talk about this Celtics team already has 5 guys who can get you 30 on any night, Tatum, Brown, Holiday, White, Porzingis, I'm adding a 6th. Peyton Pritchard can get you 30 on any night, and I think he's entered that. He's in the upper echelon. You want to talk about upper echelon? Pritchard, guys, upper echelon of bench players now in the NBA. And, I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on Peyton Pritchard?
6th man of the year, man. He has been incredible. I mean, I said it earlier today. I made a video and I was talking about Peyton Pritchard. I expected Peyton Pritchard to have a good season. I did not expect him expect him to be the front runner for 6th man of the year. And honestly, maybe I probably should have. I should not have doubted Peyton Pritchard because he has only shown that he is only willing to get better. And honestly, I mean, he probably has the most confidence in the world after the NBA Finals. He hit 2 of the biggest shots in Celtics Finals history with his half-court shots. And, honestly, we probably should have saw it coming. We should have saw it coming that Peyton Pritchard was going to be better than what he was before. He is putting up some absolutely insane numbers, and I can't believe that we're not even, 2 years removed from him requesting a trade to get out of here.
Yeah.
Right?
He wanted out of here. He did not want to be here. He knew he could play. Brad Stevens knew he could play. They just had to wait. Give him time. And
Ian,
now he's showing it.
Do you remember we ran, I want to say you were there with me. We ran a segment on the podcast talking about whether or not Pritchard was, at this point, the surefire 6th man of the year. And we were talking about it, and kind of what the group consensus was he's kind of the 6th man, but at the same time, you have Al and Pritchard's a guard, and there's so many guards in the starting lineup. We're seeing Pritchard checked in tonight with White in Holiday, and he was guarding Cam Johnson for a lot of the run, and he was doing a phenomenal job. So he's been phenomenal offensively, but Franco, his defensive impact cannot go underlooked.
He's become a pest. That's it. Off ball, he's been moving around. He's bringing the intensity on both sides of the court, and he's just been carrying over playoff P to preseason P. It's just been continuous growth from him. And I think that we're only seeing what the cusp is. I mean, the potential is beyond there. I think he could have been, if he were to be traded, we would be seriously regretting that at this point, because I feel like he would have developed into a star even quicker somewhere elsewhere.
I can't stress enough how good Pritchard's been. It is truly remarkable. And something else I want to mention about this man. He's doing this. He scored 20 points tonight on 54 from the floor and 43 from deep. So he's not only getting the Celtics 20 points, right? I believe he's right now averaging 17 and a half. Not only getting them those buckets, he's doing it at a very high efficiency level in low shots. And that, right? Because when you deal with Pritchard, something I've said, guys, is that like the scoring guard, right? The Emmanuel Quickleys, the Tyrese Maxeys, and now the Peyton Pritchards, the Cam Thomas, they're the hands down the most replaceable position in basketball, right? Because you can find anybody who's 6'2", who is shifty and can get a bucket, right? There's a plethora of NBA
Lonnie
players
Walker's
that can do that for you. Right, exactly. Lonnie Walker's without a job because he kind of fell into that category. But there's not many of them in the league, guys, who do it at a very efficient rate. And that, to me, has stuck out about Peyton Pritchard. He's doing it at an efficient rate. How important is that?
I think it's huge. I mean, sorry to cut you off, but I think that he is doing a great job. And when we were down that 12-2 and we were seeing that terrible run from Xavier Tillman and Al Horford to start off the game, I felt so much relief when he checked it.
Yeah, get Pritchard in there.
Yeah, see, the thing with Peyton Pritchard, I don't even think this is a crazy thing. You could say he is the third or fourth best offensive player on this team this year.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't really think that's a stretch. He has been. Obviously, he's the best bench scorer on this team. That's not really
no doubt.
But overall, you got Jason Tatum, you got Derek White. You can say Jaylen Brown, but he's been injured. And that's it. Peyton Pritchard has been absolutely huge, and he has carried your offense for multiple games this season. Yeah. He had that game against the Bucks. He had tonight. He has had so many games where he can just take over. And, like, it's crazy to think, because I was thinking about his rookie year. He got a lot of minutes his rookie year because the Celtics were so bad. Yeah. But, like, you could tell there was something there. There was something there.
There was.
Like, if you watch highlights from Pritchard's rookie year, it looks pretty similar to what he's doing now. It's just Pritchard has elevated. He has the most confidence in the world. And
that's it right there.
When he hit that turnaround, mid-range jump shot, I think it was over Cam Johnson in overtime. That was incredible. You would not have seen Peyton Pritchard do that last season, year before, his entire career. You would not have seen Peyton Pritchard do that. He has become absolutely huge to the Celtics team, and there's really not much else you can say outside of he's just been amazing.
Well, you talk about confidence. It feels like Joe Mazzulla has just given him the green light. Like Pete, when you get out there, go, just play. And it's like, because like you're right, his rookie year and kind of last year, like we've seen it, right? We've seen Pritchard for a game like explode, like the random triple double game against the Hawks that last game of the year, like 2-3 years ago. Like we've seen it before, but now it's like he's doing it every single night. And there's a stint, and Franco, you're so right. I texted you guys this, like, Celtic, the offense got dry, like, put Pritchard in, like, go Pritchard now, like throw him in there. And then Pritchard comes in, it's like, boom, offense is not dry anymore. He brings, and that is so huge. When you get this fully healthy team back, right? When Porzingis and Brown comes back, if Pritchard is doing this, it adds a whole nother element to this team that we, as Celtics fans or reporters or analysts, or whatever you want to call it, however you look at the game, no one saw this coming. And it brings another level that the Celtics can unlock with Pritchard playing like this. Ridiculous. And his running mate, Sam Hauser. Now, Sam, I want to just touch briefly on. We haven't talked a lot about him, right? He had a rough game tonight, 2 of 10. He's kind of had a rough start to the year. Where are you guys at with Sam Hauser? Because I have my thoughts and opinions, but I'll share them after.
I think that the Celtics are kind of in a weird spot because there's not much you can add in. I think the Hausers and the Tillmans, if they're not, we know what they're capable of. And I know we're going to see that in stretches throughout the season, especially when we start getting into the middle of the pack games, game 40 of the season. It's starting to get to the run. And I think that Hauser is someone who has worked on developing into a more all-around player, but I think as long as his specialty of being able to make those 3-pointers, he made a great shot for us during the
he did. He made a big shot. He did.
And that is all we can ask for from him. And I think that as long as everyone does their job, as Bill Belichick would say for the Patriots, but I think he is just one of those people that is you can rely on in those moments where you need a situational three, and it's a lot of situational players on the bench, and it's really piecing them together and finding the right mix and matches for them.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not concerned about Sam Hauser.
Boom.
I'm really
Thank
not.
you. Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, yeah, he was irritating me today with the missed threes, and there were plenty of times where he had wide open threes. Nobody was even close to him, and he was just bricking them. But, like, that's just who Sam Hauser is. There will be times where his shots aren't falling, and then there will be a time, maybe like a couple months from now, where he finishes a game where he shoots like 8 for 10 from 3, and we're on here talking about how amazing of a shooter he is again. Like, that's just kind of the way it goes. And plus, Sam Hauser hasn't had much of a rhythm to begin the season either. He started out the year injured with the back injury after opening night. He missed like 3 or 4 games, and now he's come back, and he's trying to get back into the rotation. And like I said, just give him time. Give him like a month or two from now. He's going to have a game where he hits like 8 3-pointers, and we're all going to be super happy that he's back on the court again.
I love that. Sums it up. Like, with Sam Hauser, get him open, whether he makes it or not, right? And tonight he made the one that mattered, right? The big three, he made, boom, knocked it down, right? That's huge. But like, shoot or shoot, man. Like literally shoot or shoot. If you're Hauser, shoot it, right? You're open. There's going to be so many games where you knock them down this year. 3 steals tonight, guys. A year ago, Sam Hauser's unplayable in a game like this. Tonight, he showed up on the defensive floor. That's so big for them.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what else with Sam Hauser? We talked about Xavier Tillman. We saw what happened with the Celtics offense when he wasn't there. Sam Hauser is a huge part to the Celtics offense. Don't get it wrong.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Because, like, I mean, I hate to keep picking on Tillman, but, like, you can't have him out there playing Sam Hauser's role.
No, like, it doesn't work.
I would trust Sam Hauser with a wide open 3 if he having a bad shooting night than Xavier Tillman with a wide open 3. As we saw, Xavier Tillman was not shooting the ball at all. And when he did, he was just missing. And Jordan Walsh, who had a rough game tonight, but he's still not there either. Jordan Walsh tried to play that role earlier on in the season too, and it didn't work. So you need Sam Hauser out there.
You do.
And kind of like what you said, you can't I didn't expect him to be as good as a defensive player as we've seen this season so far.
They keep going at him too. They keep picking on him. They don't learn.
Like everybody knows this. And like, I don't know, they just see the tall white guy and they're like, yeah, he's not going to be coordinated enough to stop me. And no, Sam Hauser can clamp up. He can
good. Play. What did Drew say? Nah, even the white dudes play defense. Oh, yeah. Like literally. No, I mean it was a great defensive game from Hauser. His spacing, right? Like they just harped on Ian. Like it's irreplaceable. Like you have to, whether Hauser has a good night shooting or bad night shooting, you have to defend him from the 3-point line. You can't afford to leave that guy open. And that opens up the floor for guys like Tatum and when Brown and Porzingis come back, right? Like that's what that's like the X factor with Porzingis. It's just the spacing. Like if he's standing 30 feet out, the center has to come out and play him. And that's what's so dynamic about this team. So when you got a guy like Tillman out there, it kind of kills that spacing. And I do think though, right? On the contrary, I think the Celtics could like afford to find a 1B identity where the spacing isn't there during the regular season or maybe the playoffs, right? Maybe Porzingis misses another stint or maybe Hauser's out for the playoffs or whoever it is, right? What are you going to do when the spacing's not there, right? Because you're so accustomed to having all this space and you can get to the rim so easily. How do you approach the game when the spacing isn't there? So I think that's a unique way to look at it right now for the Celtics.
I think Tillman needs to become that yard dog for the Celtics. I think that's where he's going to find his role. If you're not hitting your shot, you just bring the intensity. And
PJ Brown.
Right. And if he's just down there throwing bows and getting rebounds, I guarantee he's got a big enough body. He would be doing the same amount of effect on the boards that is Jrue Holiday would. And I could see him completely filling into that person, just floating around the post, running out to the 3-point line just to set that quick screen. If he gets that pick and pop opportunity, let them take 1 or 2 a game, but nothing more than that. But I would much rather seeing him going for the 2-point look rather than the threes.
So, guys, obviously Sunday night, Celtics, or Sunday afternoon, 3:30 game Sunday against the Bucks on the road. We don't questionable for Jaylen Brown. We don't know anything of what's happening if he's playing or not. Before we end the show here, I do want to touch on this game just a little bit and what exactly you guys are looking for. Now, the Bucks are a team that have been struggling big time, and they're at home against a good team. It feels like a trap game for the Celtics. What are your expectations?
My expectations are to win. I think it's pretty obvious. Like you said, the Bucks have been struggling. I mean, they've beaten the 76ers with no Joel Embiid and no Paul George, and they've beat the Utah Jazz, who are actively tanking for Cooper Flag. So it's been a rough game, and they lost to the Knicks tonight too. So
did they? The Bucks did. Wow,
it's been rough for Milwaukee.
Yeah, they got blown out.
You pretty much just got to keep doing what you're doing, even if Jaylen Brown isn't there. Jason Tatum still has to step up, and
right.
I mean, I wasn't here for the post game against the Warriors, but kind of, you can't have Tatum play that kind of game where he's passive,
right?
And he's only taking the threes and he's not going to the rim. You need Jason Tatum to play his game. He needs to play like he did tonight, or at least in the second half of tonight, where he is attacking. That is what he needs to do. The 3-point shot is hitting, and that's great, but he has to keep going downhill. That's the way that he is able to generate more offense for the Celtics. And as we saw, he had that play where in the fourth quarter where he drove, he had that behind the back pass to Hauser, who was open in the corner. That's why that's what Tatum needs to do. And the Bucks, they don't have the greatest defense either, but you still need to do it. That still has to happen. And I expect the Celtics to go out there, and I expect them to win. That's, I think, the expectation that you should have.
Yeah. This game is way more important to the Bucks than it is for the Celtics. I think this could be almost the last straw for a team like the Milwaukee Bucks, especially with all the pressure that they're under. A devastating loss, and if it just continues going the way it is, we could be seeing some coaching movement, or even worse, what we've started to hear rumors of is a Giannis being moved on.
Right. I'm right there with you guys. I think it's a trap game. I'm going to label it as a trap game. Milwaukee is 2-7, but I agree with you. They've been playing some bad ball. Jump on them. Love the Tatum point tonight. Tatum is so good, and the players around him are playing so much better when he facilitates, and he's the guy. And they almost run like a Luka-like offense around Tatum, but it's not as isocentric, and the ball swings way faster and finds open men. So I think that's important. As for tonight, guys, the Celtics, they were able to walk away with their 8th win of the year. The Celtics improved to 8-2 through the first 10 games. They are now 3-1 at home as they beat the Brooklyn Nets 108-104. We talked about Jason Tatum. Well, he again was your SeatGeek player of the game. 33 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists for the All-NBA first team NBA champion JT. Like we just mentioned, guys, the Celtics will face off on the road against the Milwaukee Bucks November 10th. That is this Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. We will have you guys covered after the final buzzer sounds right back here on the CTW YouTube channel for Celtics Talk Weekly Post Game Live. Guys, what you got?
Okay, so I just need to say this. The Maine Celtics opened their season tonight. J.D. Davison finished with 31 points, 12 assists, and 8 rebounds. And Baylor Shireman had 31 points, 7 assists, and 7 rebounds.
Oh, send that to Justin.
Don't let Justin figure that out.
And
Do not let Justin
Robert Williams had his first career 3-pointer today.
Robert, is he playing?
From injury. He is.
Look
first
at
game
that.
back from injury. Hit his first career 3-pointer.
Oh, that makes me happy.
Loving that. But we hope Rob has a great year. But guys, again, thank you so much for joining in, watching. We will see you guys Sunday night, and as always, cue the music and go C's.